So I'm not sure it's an indoctrination. I think it's just maybe an awareness of things that happen in society. And that doesn't mean that the pendulum doesn't swing too far sometimes, but I'm not sure I would call it an indoctrination. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, when I was in school, I learned that it was a mental disorder. I know that's changed, but it was in the DSM-5 as a mental disorder. And I accept that there are mental disorders, and people that are suffering from mental disorders should never be treated by people harassing them or people yelling at them or calling them names. So I'm sorry that someone that you knew went through that. But, you know, when people had mental disorders, it wasn't, at least it wasn't commonplace to try to teach them about and normalize the mental disorders in classrooms, because children are experimenting with ideas and children always want to be different. Yeah. And if you say to kids, like, you know, obviously propaganda works. If you tell kids smoke cigarettes, they all start smoking cigarettes. We've learned this. And then in my generation, we stomped out smoking cigarettes because of the reverse course on that and saying like, no, actually cancer kills. Well, they taught us in the classroom that cancer kills. And now the majority of people who were smoking like crazy in the 80s are not smoking anymore. So we know that psychological conditioning works, and that the majority of these 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds are not non-binary. They're just learning that as a way to be different, they can experiment with these things. And unfortunately, these have very evil results, because kids are being put on drugs that are quite literally used on pedophiles.
Well, that's not necessarily so. But listen, let me just say that about
is a drug. I think there are a lot of things on pedophiles in prison. That's what's being given to children.
There's a lot to respond to that as far as the indoctrination. If it was an indoctrination, then I went to a Catholic school, so then I would be, you know, a straight male married to a woman who attends church every single day. If there was any sort of indoctrination that was happening, so apparently the indoctrination at the Catholic school did not work on me, because I ended up being the exact opposite of what they wanted. The other thing is that the whole idea that they're giving young children drugs at an age, and the children are getting to decide at an age that they need these medical drugs for transitioning, that is absolutely not true.
What do you mean that's not true? You can get,
and also
you can get puberty blockers as a child. I had a whole person on my show who
that's also with
that transition
of the family, and the family. You can get puberty blockers as a child, but the parents have to decide that. That's not some
so they can
child
get puberty blockers.
Who's decide? The parent and the child gets to decide that. So
okay, but that they should puberty blockers fundamentally alter them for life.
Disorder. You understand that it has not been, you know, it's been deemed not to be a mental disorder, and then you're saying that it, you know, that you're. In your rhetoric, you're saying that it's a mental disorder.
It is a mental disorder. That's what I learned in school.
It's not a mental disorder. Okay,
if you think that you're a boy and you're actually a girl, you are suffering from a mental disorder, obviously, because you can't actually change your sex, obviously.
I know plenty of children now. I know plenty.
You can play dress up, but you can't change your sex. I know plenty
of young people and old people who are trans, right? And they are not pretending. And it is not a mental disorder.
Well, it is pretending, because you will literally never be able, if you are a little boy, to grow up and have a baby, because you're not a little girl.
I would hope that your child would not grow up, or your children would not grow up, and then thinking that they're trans, and then their parents telling them the exact opposite.
I would tell them that they have a mental disorder, and we're going to get them help.
Ladies, y'all was okay with this shit. You was okay with it when little Johnny told you he liked to suck dick. You was okay with that. That's my son. I love him nonetheless. Daddy probably looked at that boy like he was crazy. Probably tried to disown the little motherfucker. Let's be honest. But mama, who had control of the household, talked him off the ledge and agreed with accepting that. And guess what he did? He was part of the community, went down there and pressed the laws. It's okay. It's acceptable. We can do this. And once you open that door up, you open it up to everybody else. So when y'all complain about these transgenders, these cross-dressers, these men who dress like women, but they got a full beard better than mine, y'all okay with that shit. So don't get mad when these dick-swinging motherfuckers get their shit chopped off. And now they want to be in the WNBA, or they want to try for the Olympics and in the swimming pools and on the tracks. Don't be mad. Because let me tell you what's coming next. You honoring motherfuckers who open this door for these sick people. Beastism. It's okay to sleep with fucking animals. Pedos. It's okay because you're okay with these underage motherfuckers, because it's all fair and love and war. You sick motherfuckers, open the door. Now you got to accept whatever comes through that bitch. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't believe it should be in school. Unfortunately, we got to deal with it. Unfortunately, I got to worry about teaching my granddaughter at the age of 5 about lesbianism and homosexualism and gay men and straight men. Why is that boy wearing lip gloss? Why is he wearing lipstick? Why does he want to wear the same kind of dress that I want to wear? I got to teach that. I got to talk about that. These kids don't have a chance for innocence no more. Them days are long gone. So now we got to put all of this bullshit on the kids. I have no problem with Candace Owens pressing that man. Yeah, press his ass. Because his punk ass need to be pressed. His daddy should have pressed his ass. And maybe he won't be like that. Instead, he didn't. So now we got what we got. It is what it is.
Hey, don't forget boxing and MMA now, Hink.
Come on, Lou. They here. They here. They in her.
I just have I agree with you, Hank, but I do have a point that I need to say. I don't know where you from, but down here, it wasn't necessarily just the women. What's even crazier is that religion is so big and everybody's like, oh, conservative, conservative, conservative. But in the black church is where a lot of in the Catholics, a lot of these boys getting turned out by other men. So I don't know where you getting your information from, but you're blaming mothers. But historically on documentation, it's been other men doing this to little boys. I can't speak on the little girls, but I feel like you saying an open door and we accept it. I don't know anything about that. I can only speak for myself, but historically it's been even back to Caesar, the bathhouses, when women had no power. Men was getting bent over. So how does this all falling on us all of a sudden? I'm just curious.
Well, even back then, it wasn't acceptable. Look here, man. Look, let me tell you, though, people of certain color introduced homosexualism to us. That wasn't a thing for blacks. We wasn't into that shit. We was introduced to that shit. And guess what? We're getting more turned down. They keep pressing the issue, and they keep pressing in our community. Why? Because we accept any goddamn thing. We think white is right. So white is right? Let's be sissies. Let's go out here and suck a dick or eat a pussy. Let's do that. And we accept all that bullshit. And we brought in our community. We welcome with open arms. And guess what? You think we still trying to get rid of it? Hell no. We encourage it more. And who the one to do it most? The mothers encouraging it. The mothers be down in pride parades with them, raising the flags, cheering. My son is this. And they happy with it. They okay with it. Instead of encourage your son, I don't think you should be doing this. This is not a thing to do.
Well, in speaking, I can't speak from the Black community, but having gone to a Catholic school my entire life, it was a lot of males that were in the systems that were supporting it. So, like, we had choir teachers, Spanish teachers that were, that were gay in a Catholic school. So
That's what
that's
I'm
a
trying
white.
to, I'm
That was a
trying to
white
figure out where
community.
this theory
Yeah.
of women.
That's what I think what Hank is speaking to is once it got to our community, who didn't like hammer it down, who kind of, I mean, women are comforted, so naturally there's a feeling, because y'all are 100% right. And I too went to Catholic school for most of my grade school years.
And the brothers, you know, I went to Marist Brothers schools. So, you know, the brown robes with the ropes hanging down, you know, for all I know, them niggas could have been butt naked under them robes. You know, it was some suspect shit going on, you know. Even and I went to the same high school that Diddy left, and I heard that he had a situation with one of the brothers at our school, you know. So there's been a lot of those incidents that took place allegedly. But yes, that is historically where it started. I was always under the assumption that individuals were born this way to an extent. When I say that, you know, just like some people are born with gene defects, I assumed that this was one of those. And I understand, and I empathize with that, with people who experience that, because, you know, in college fraternity, you know, I have people who were in, you know, my social circle that were that, and some of them were hidden, some of them were, you know, out. And I understand how some of them wanted to keep it hidden because, you know, you have the person that is married with kids and they're gay. You understand what I'm saying? Because they don't want to. I'm not doing this. Even though I had these feelings, I'm not doing this. Then you have the people that do it. I'm just going ahead and this is how I feel and this is my life experience. And I know that nobody agrees with it, but you know what I'm gonna do. This is what I feel. I've seen those two instances and I empathize with both of them. The problem I have is when it's being presented as an option where it's like, oh, Cookie, you know, these dudes out here treating you bad, what they giving you a hard time, you know what you need to do? Like, come on, girl, come to the club. I'm gonna introduce you to some bullshit. That's the
Peer
problem
pressure.
I have, where you have none of these feelings, you don't swing that way at all, but it's like, let me open up Pandora's box for you. Let me show you all the, you know, wonders that exist out here.
Turning out,
That's the
turning
problem
people
I have
out.
with it. That's the problem I have with it. I empathize with the people that truly day to day experience this and have these feelings, are working through it, and you know, dealt with a heavily religious parent who's literally trying to do anything besides, you know, put it down, take their brain out, give them brain surgery type shit. You know, understand what I'm saying? Like I empathize with that. That's terrible. But now it's no longer that. And to be honest, those particular people can't stand these particular people. You know, they might not be as loud about it because they're living their life figuring it out, but they can't stand all of this, you know, in schools. You know, you 4 or 5 years old and you know who Ellen DeGeneres is dating. You know what I'm saying? Like they hate those type of people. They can't stand that because they understand that. And I think with the world, the pendulum swings. You understand what I'm saying? And it's gonna swing. And right now, it's swinging in this direction, but it's gonna swing back because what Candace was saying is correct. That you know, I won't be as bold and call it a mental disorder, but I mean, come on now. You know, once upon a time when people had mental disorders, we treated them or we told them like, you know, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. But I think now they're treating us like we're the ones with the mental disorder. You know, they're saying, oh, Hank, word, yo, Hank, this is a man. Do you understand what I'm saying, Hank? You want to lose your job, Hank? This is a man right here. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the problem I have when even if you have a mental disorder, even if you feel you are this, that's fine. That's your life. That's not my life. My problem is when you take what your reality is or what your fantasy is and try to make it my reality. That's the problem I have, to the point where you're knocking on my door and you're saying, what, you got a problem? This is a man. We heard that you didn't call this person, you know, like, nah, you bought that to me. I didn't ask for that. You know what I mean? Every show we love, every show we love, every show we watch, I call them sodomy grenades, yo. They just stuff don't even have to weave into the storyline and they just dropping gay sex into it or they a gay relationship or it doesn't fit into the storyline. And I'm not I don't have a problem with the gay relationship part. I have a problem with them. You know, like I've been watching The Shy this season, and it's ridiculous. Like, you know, I'm about to wrap it up. What they say, like 6 or 7% of the population is, you know, homosexual. The relationships in The Shy, 90% of the relationships are homosexual. You know, and it's like it's
So
90%
on the sitcom, right? The show.
The
Okay.
Shy, yeah. Like they just dropping them in there, and you understand what the agenda is. Like this is a clear agenda. If there's more,
Jay, I said, hold on a minute.
I thought something in Chicago. I want to say, damn,
oh
really?
no, not Chicago, nah. But that's the problem I have, man. Where they take everything that we're doing, you know, everything we're watching, everything we're experiencing, and they drop it in there, and then they treat you like you're the problem.
Yeah. And we got to go ahead and close this one on out, man. But I'm not trying to change nobody, right? Folks can do whatever it is that they want to do. I'm just real protective of the energy that I surround myself around, and I'm going to control what I can control, which is within my house. As soon as that silly ass shit come on the TV, I'm sitting and I'm looking like, hey, you know, guys don't wear dresses, right? You know, guys don't do that, right? And he said, I know. I said, as long as you know, because they're going to keep playing some stuff. So if that's your belief, because you can stand on your belief. I don't, just as much as people want us to accept that, it should, to be fair, we don't have to accept it. And so that's something that I'm just going to remove myself from situations at times. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but that's just something that I don't stand for. And I'm okay with saying that. And I'm okay with teaching my children the way that I deem as to be the correct way that I want, for the path that I want my children to be raised in. So it is what it is, man. But you got to make sure.
And the problem is that if you're not, nowadays they're trying to make it, if you're not an ally, you're an enemy. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, just because you're respectful of wanting to not be involved in it, now you're homophobic or you're transphobic.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. People can think what they want to think, right? You know, as long as it don't get physical, people are entitled to their opinion. And I respect that. I respect anybody's opinion. But as long as it don't get physical, then we all good. You know, you can't make me, as far as I know, as far as what we know, this had to start from somewhere. This is not nothing that just, it wasn't like something dropped down and then now this is life. As far as we know it, life was one way. And I'm okay with that. I don't have that issue. I don't have that feeling within me to be able to relate. So you can't make me relate to that. There's nothing, no chemicals in my body that's allowing me to say that this is the route, that this is what I want for my children, this is what I want for my life. So I'm gonna just keep it. I'm gonna be respectful. Y'all do whatever it is you want to do. People can live their life the way they want to live their life, but I'm real careful on who comes within my circle, and I'm careful about the situations I put myself in.
So, JR, since you're saying that we're having this conversation, I went to a networking event on Thursday, and long story short, I had a conversation with this woman who is now in like a more managerial kind of role, right? And we were having this conversation about homeschooling, and she's now engaged, and she's thinking about having children and starting a family, etc. And like homeschooling came up, right? And she had looked into this community of women who are stay-at-home moms who are also homeschooling their children, and they're all in different verse areas. So like, let's say for example, like one woman teaches math and focuses on math, and another one focuses on science, and another one is more versed in like business, right? She teaches business and how to structure business and financial literacy, etc. And sort of like what she's been looking into is how, you know, joining that same kind of community, that same community and circle of women who on one day a week they would go to one parent's house where those lessons are pretty much structured, right? So they're like really tailored and very structured programs that they're taken from the public school curriculum, but they're also framed in a way where they're more advantageous for those children at the grade level at which they are at, right? Whether it's at an elementary level, whether it's at a middle school level, et cetera, et cetera. And sort of, and I had asked her what's been the positive feedback from that, and she's like, well, the positive feedback that she's gotten from it from other mothers who are also in this type of circle of moms is that they custom tailor the lessons and also control the learning pace. Right? There's no distractions. It's a much more streamlined um, curriculum, right? And then also they feel that they get a lot out of it because you have a pretty much almost a one-on-one teacher and instructor who is more of a subject matter expert in that course or that subject, right? And sort of they're kind of helping each other kind of allow the children get that full educational experience without all the necessary distractions, right? It's like it's a classroom almost tailored for that child, right? And then also, if there are any challenges or learning curves, they pretty much kind of scale it in a way where they kind of identify what those issues are and focus on those primarily, and then kind of get back to the curriculum structure without having that child fall behind, right? Unlike public school sector where some kids might be struggling, they might not know, but yet they're kind of pushing these kids forward. I had a conversation with my younger cousin, and she sees this happening all the time. She's like, some of these kids can barely even read, and they're just pushing them forward, right? And I think it does a larger disservice to society because we're not really producing or putting kids in a more advantageous circumstance. So when they get out here in the real world, they're better equipped or they're better um, situated to start a job, whatever that may be, or if it's even trade school, college, whatever, or the military. But unfortunately, that's just not what's happening. And sort of maybe perhaps um, that might be something that could be introduced. I don't know what that looks like, honestly, among us, black and brown, melanated people, and sort of like at a community level. I don't know what that looks like or how that's structured. I mean, obviously, we could go back as far as like the 60s and 70s when we were thinking about like the Black Panthers and how they structured stuff, but I don't know today how we will get the kind of support and also the advocacy behind it, right? Because it feels at times when it comes to the educational process, we're kind of divided on that in a sense.
Can I say something about that? I'm a teacher. When you move, when you buy property, when you move into an apartment, it is very imperative that you check the school district for your children. If you have children, if you planning on have children, you have to go visit these schools, see what the schools offer before people are wanting to satisfy themselves with pictures of the gram. Like there's beautiful places to live in Houston, but the schools are garbage. So if you can't afford Kincaid private school, then you might not need to live in Houston. You might need to move somewhere else. You might need to find a suburb where it's like A plus campus. They give them grades. We have a Where I teach, we have a motor shop. Any kid can get into it. You can do the shop class. We have floral class. We have a home ex chef. They can become little chefs before they graduate. We have a salon. We have paramedics. So I'm just like, the right districts, the right funded districts have that. You just have to be prepared to do the research, pay the taxes, be the outstanding citizens in the right place. Not all public educations are bad, but when you choose to live in a bad place for education, it's gonna be that. It's gonna be bad.